Hi and welcome to this video where we're visiting a small village in Dorset where we find a tale of the Knights Hospitaller. The village is so small that the only road that goes there is very narrow, and if you didn't know, you might class it as a hamlet, which I have seen some people class it as, but it is a village, as the main difference between a hamlet and a village, and that is the village has a church. And here we have the stunning, small church of St. Basil. There seems to be some debate about its age, with some saying it was built in the 19th century, and some saying it was a little older. The church is a simple rectangular structure, but for the pointed windows and small western bellcote, you would take it as an unremarkable farm building. Yet within this plain exterior lies one of the greatest treasures of any English country church, a superbly carved font dating to the late Saxon or early Norman period. Historians seem unclear as to just how old this font is, but what is not in doubt is the remarkable quality of the carving. The font is a simple tub-shaped, but the exterior of the tub is carved with figures depicting biblical characters and scenes. One theory about the font is that its carving represents a passage from the Book of Revelations, but another theory suggests that it shows scenes from the life of Moses. Yet still another theory holds that it depicts Christ and St. Michael. Make of these theories that you will, but there is no question that the utterly superb quality of the carvings, the font is a stunning work of art. Slightly overshadowed by the Saxon font is another ancient carving depicting Mary Magdalene washing Christ's feet. If you look closely, you can see that she is drying Christ's feet with her hair. The carving is thought to date from the first half of the 11th century. It's thought that it was part of a much larger carving. Perhaps the font and the Mary Magdalene could likely be from the original church that once stood here. It is believed that the foundations of the church we're told today is built on the foundations of the chapel where the knights worshipped, and it's believed that the knights would have been buried nearby, although where, nobody is sure. The church is set a little aside from the manor house, farm buildings, and workers' cottages that make up this village. The manor house, which is close by, is a truly stunning building, and was built on the site of the original knight's home, and the thatched outbuilding were erected in 1540 by John Samway of Winterbourne Martin, who purchased the estate in 1540. I admit, and it seems like so many, I knew very little of these knights, except for a modern day connection which I will come back to. But when I heard about this church, I knew I needed to know a bit more, and soon found out that during the 12th century these knights arrived in the area and a few other places in Britain. These knights were not really talked about, almost forgotten knights of their time, for the Knights Templar is the order that most people talk about. The Knights Hospitaller and the Knights Templar were two separate orders, though they were often confused because of their similar roles. Our knights here, also known as the Order of St. John, were a medieval religious and military order that began in Jerusalem in the late 11th century, making them the oldest of the two orders, originally caring for sick and poor pilgrims. The order soon aimed to provide medical assistance to pilgrims of the Holy Land. These knights initially functioned as purely religious order, but eventually took on military responsibilities, particularly in defence of the Christian territories. Unlike the Templars, they survived the Crusades and continued for centuries. Whereas the Knights Templars, who were founded in 1119, were created specifically to protect the pilgrims travelling to the Holy Land, and became famous for their immense wealth, banking system and warrior reputation. They were suppressed in 1312 by Pope Clement under the pressure of King Philip IV of France. Imagine an area where a stone building almost rising from the surrounding farmland, with this small chapel at its heart, and barns and workshops and fields stretched around it. The night's day likely began at dawn with the ringing of the chapel bell, calling the brothers to prayer. Inside, candlelight flickers against the walls as knights, priests and serving brothers chant the divine office in unison. Afterwards, the community gathers for a simple meal before dispersing for their duties. The preceptor, who governs the estates, meets the tenants and oversees accounts, ensuring rents are collected, trades run smoothly. Serving brothers tend livestock, plough the fields, maintain the buildings, and maintaining the storehouses that were once here, while priests prepare for mass and care for the sick or needy who come seeking aid. Some preceptories kept a small area where weary travellers or local paupers are offered bread, ale, and a bed for the night. As evening falls, the brothers return to the chapel for prayer, share a final meal, and then retire in silence. Life here blends in a quiet devotion, all bound together by discipline, charity, and the distinct pull of the hospitality's greater mission overseas. Lo, life here was quieter than that of the Holy Land. The area remained an important link to the chain of the resources, spirituality and discipline that kept the order active across Europe and the wider Mediterranean. When the Knights Templar were suppressed in 1312, the Knights Hospitaliters continued, with some saying that they took some of the Knights Templar lands. What happened to the knights after this? That is something I need to look into. But today, this medieval order, which was founded in the 11th century to care for the sick injured in Jerusalem, later inspired a modern organisation. In 1877, the Order of St. John established the St. John Ambulance Association in London, provided vital first aid training at a time when industrial accidents were common. Building on this tradition, St. John Ambulance grew quickly. By 1887, the St. John Ambulance Brigade was formed to supply trained volunteers who could deliver first aid at public events. From these beginnings, the organisation spread across the world, continuing a tradition of care and service that stretched back nearly thousands of years. The emblem of the Knights is a white 8-pointed cross, more commonly known as the Maltese cross, usually set against a black background. This distinctive symbol has been associated with the order since the Middle Ages and reflects their values of faith, service and care. Each of the 8 points is often said to represent qualities or obligations the knights aspired to live by, such as truth, faith and compassion. Over time, the Maltese cross became more than just a badge of identity. It evolved into a lasting emblem of service that carried forward into the work of the Order of St. John and eventually into the modern St. John Ambulance, where it continues to symbolise their mission of care and first aid. I wonder if the knights who worshipped here at St. Basil's Church ever imagined how their devotion and acts of service might ripple through time. The knights' legacy took root, symbolised by the enduring 8-pointed cross. That same spirit of care and compassion lives on today in the work of the St. John Ambulance, touching lives across the world. These knights left more than a history behind. They left a story of humanity and service, a quiet but powerful reminder that some legends are never truly past, but continue to inspire, guide and endure. If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment and give this video a like, and consider becoming a member, where you will get a chance to see future videos before they go live on YouTube. And until the next time, stay safe.